Hello and welcome to the Gooners. We're back in with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, straight after Arsenal have beaten Sheffield United 3-0. If you're wondering why I feel a little bit stressed, a little bit what's the word? What's the best way to describe how I feel right now? Oh man, I've spent 90 minutes, I feel, just getting abuse from the fraud gang. That's utterly going in on me. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the game and your thoughts as always. Without further ado, let's crack on with today's show. How are we doing? I hope we're all well. Hope we're good. Deary me. Oh, damn. Wow. Unbelievable. Thank you for chatting in the chat box. I know that some of you joined me for the last 90 minutes of, crazy scenes. This is what I'll get onto in a second. This is going to be the last Raw Reaction show that you're going to see this stuff behind me. It's going to be the last time you're going to see this around because things are changing on the channel. Things are getting very different on the channel. The members got a small tease this morning of some of the changes that are coming. And I'm excited about that. So that's good. I'm focusing on that positive, which is great. I was happy with the performance. I really was. I thought it was an important game. I thought it was a game that I think a lot of people were not necessarily written off, but a game which they just couldn't really get up for, which I understand. I get why, because of where we are in the league, who we're playing. But going into Thursday's game, if we had have had a really tricky performance today, it would have been horrific. So to see Lacazette start, which I wasn't even in favour of really, but to see him start and bag 2 goals and finish really well, I think is a really big positive for us going forwards. And credit to Arteta. I know that a lot of people don't want to give that out too much, but credit to Arteta here for maybe that kind of commitment, that loyalty that he does have for some players, which does frustrate at times. And I think it's frustrated me at times, but there is an example where it works, is where he's given the faith to Lacazette to say, look, come into the side, play again. He didn't have to. We could have played Martinelli up top. He could have even gone for Nketiah up top. Who knows what's going to go on for this manager's head? He could have played Willian on the wing, whatever. But he still went with Lacazette when he didn't necessarily have to after really kind of poor performance on Thursday. And yeah, the tactics were great. We played really well. We dominated the game. There were much, much better kind of interplays. The first goal specifically was really good interplay. Ceballos, I thought, had a decent game. He didn't light things up for me, but I thought he was good. I thought he just kept play moving. And it's good to know that if Smith Rowe and Odegaard are not available, that you can move players around. Saka can go at 10. Ceballos can be fluid and attack forwards, and that was important. Seeing Granit Xhaka at left back, I'm not the biggest fan of that personally, but he did well. He defended well. We know that he can play in a more disciplined role when necessary, and he did there for me. So yeah, that was positive too. I don't think there's much I can say wholly, and so this show is going to be a lot about you guys in the chat box and getting your thoughts and feelings across and your questions answered specifically about the game on Thursday. Tomorrow evening, we're going to be getting the guys on the podcast. I'll be telling you who's going to be on the lineup in a little bit about that. And of course, also looking ahead to that game is going to be really key. I don't imagine there'll be much talk about today. It's going to be more talk about Thursday. But let me know what your thoughts were on the game, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Mike Hernandez says Partey assist was filthy, but Xhaka was superb most of the game, in my opinion. Peter Renner says, I'm pleased with the result, just putting it into perspective. Vincenzo says, apparently Balogun's going to sign a new contract. He is, from the looks of things, which is great. Matt G says, Tom, do you need a hug? Mate, after that 90 minutes, an interrogation, yeah, a little bit. Fraud gang can be really, really, it's why I love you guys. You're great, and you're fantastic, and you're always supportive, so I really appreciate that. Pranjal says, did we actually play very good, or was it because of poor quality of Sheffield? Sheffield were not great. They offered a little bit. They created 1 or 2 chances, but not great. But yeah, still, we've come up against sides that aren't very good and struggled. And today we didn't. We imposed ourselves. We scored 3 goals. We dominated the game. We played it how we needed to. And it's just nice, I think, to have a routine performance. Matt Thornton says, do you give Chambers a new contract? Need versatile players in the squad. Thought he had an impressive game tonight. Let me just see how many years left on his deal Callum Chambers has. His current deal expires in 2022. So after this year, he has just the 1 season left. Do I give him an extension? I mean, based on these performances, is a 2-year extension worth it? How old is he now? He is currently 26. So it'd be a similar deal to Holding. I'm not sure. If anything, it boosts his value in the market. That's something that you need to look at. If someone comes in with a really good bid for him in the summer, great. Take it. Bite your arm off for a good bid for Callum Chambers. It's one of the types of players that maybe we should look at moving on, because right back is a position that I think we should invest in. And if we're going to invest there, I think Chambers' spot probably goes. He's not going to get in at centre-back because Saliba's coming back. We've got Holding. We've got whoever else. Mavropanos could be coming back too. So I don't necessarily think there's a place for him. So if he's playing well, great. Good time to get a fee for him. Upgrade on him. Move someone else in. Dylan says, Tom, can we talk about how fluid our front five was, especially in the first half? Almost had no idea who was playing where. It was very fluid. And I think this is something we talked about with Arteta's tactics before, is the amount of movement that he wants to see, the amount of wide areas that he wants to utilise, and the passes from the likes of Sabas and Partey and Xhaka and Chambers at right and left fullback really opened up those spaces for those guys to attack into. And it would work really well. There were a couple of times where I thought people were getting in each other's way, specifically Saka and Pepe certainly did a number of times. But that is a new kind of system that they're playing. Saka's not played there before. It's important that we think about that and consider that too. So that was definitely key. Let's scroll down and get some more comments. Noah says, what happens to Kolasinac? Haven't heard an update on his loan. I think we just move him on, mate. Sell him. Quick as feasibly possible. Kian says, I ran around the house when Gabby scored. Tom, I said 3-0. Yeah, Gabby goal. Happy prediction. Yeah, you're spot on, mate. And it was really good to see. What are your thoughts on Martinelli's performance? Did you enjoy how good he was in terms of his energetic display? Right place, right time for the goal. He had a couple of opportunities to take shots. He got really well to the close on the kind of left side byline, goal touch line, to cross the ball back into the box. I thought that was great. So he had a really kind of encouraging performance. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't startling. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is a 50, 60 million pound player. It was a really solid, decent display from Martinelli, and he got a goal to top it off too. Let's not go mental. Let's not hype it up more than it needs to. But if he plays on Thursday and plays like that, I can get a little bit more from him, maybe an assist and a kind of a goal that's maybe created by himself, or he's again set up specifically. Fantastic. Get him in the team on Thursday. Play him again. Perfect. Absolutely no problems with that at all. Pablo says he played okay for his first game back. Kian says Martinelli over Aubameyang for me. Matt Thornton says thought everyone had a good game. Sabas man of the match for me. Omar says generational talent is Martinelli. ML Reaction says he still needs to work on his decision making. Again, this is what I've talked about Martinelli. He's young. He's incredibly young, and I think people maybe put him on a pedestal that's a little bit higher than his actual level is right now, and that will come in time because he still needs to develop. He still needs to improve, and that's really, really important. Noah Willis says Martinelli has the nose for goal. He knows where to be at the right place, the right time. You're spot on there. Paul Guy says movement and aggression is what we got from Martinelli. Matt G says Martinelli looked good. He was the ball of energy that we needed. Steve Stone says Gabby worked really hard, a bit rusty for obvious reasons, and scored a good night's work. John Wayne says, Tom, stick to your guns, mate. These Arteta out frauds are just impatient and reactionary. John, I appreciate the support, mate. I've always maintained what I've said. I'll be waiting for this summer, seeing what we do. And then from day one in the new season, he's under pressure. He's got to perform, because if we're backed, and he is backed, then we need to expect more things than we've seen this season. That's absolutely no fact. If he doesn't perform, if we don't improve, then we need to think about moving on from him and changing manager. But right now, I'm just happy to see where things go. And if we can continue to improve how we recruit under these new execs and under Arteta, then we'll see where it goes. If it doesn't go anywhere in the next season, then we need to think about moving on. But right now, I'm fine with how we are. Okay, I know it's not been great. I know we should be expecting more, and we should. But contextually, it's, it is what it is. Andrew Sullivan says, think we should go for Dusan Vlahovic, I think, from Fiorentina, the striker. Possible example of another player that's had a really good one-off season. Is it something that's going to go further? Is he going to get better? Is he going to be able to maintain that level? Is he someone that Arsenal should take a risk on? I'm not so sure. I think I want to see more consistency from a player over a number of years before you sign someone for the fee that it would probably take to bring him in. Yeah, Yared says that turn and through ball from Partey was brilliant. A little bit more appreciation for Partey would be great. Because I feel like I've been defending him, defending a player that I think's had a good season, and based on recency bias, I think has dipped in quite a few people's minds, to be honest. Sahil says, hey, Tom, do you think we should move to last year's FA Cup formation at the back? I thought that's something that we might do. Should we do it? If this is working, which based on a game against Sheffield United is no massive amounts of evidence, really. And we don't have the personnel, then, yeah, we should maybe give it a try. But, you know, we've come off the back of this game with Xhaka at left-back, performed really well. And we go into the game on Thursday with hopefully renewed kind of hope and faith that we are going to get where we need to go. The thing about Xhaka at left-back is that he's not attacking at all. You don't have any of the forward momentum of Kieran Tierney. But what it does mean is that you're not caught. You're not caught in behind. You've got a reserve, disciplined left-back there in Xhaka. And then the pivot midfielder, which in our case was either one of the two, being Partey or Sabas, they then get further up the pitch than they would do usually because you've got that consistent at least three at the back, with Chambers getting more forwards. But it is ironic to consider that Chambers people think of as more of a centre-back. Xhaka we think of as more of a kind of a deep line midfielder, playing in these fullback roles, a lot more disciplined, a lot more solid. You've got more men back when you need to. And I think that Xhaka adds that kind of little bit as well. So that's important to consider. Ajit says, good win. I'm still trying to figure out what was Sabah's position. Was it left centre mid? Was it left wing? Any ideas? I think that because Xhaka didn't get forward too much, that meant that Sabah would progress into more of that kind of left-hand skewed role. He has actually played left wing before, especially for the Spanish national team. Sabah has played in a wider area. So he's not unfamiliar to that position whatsoever. Yannick says, Arteta's a revolutionary WTF formation where we're playing today. Well, you know, the tactics were spot on. It worked. Whatever it was, it worked. And you never know, mate. It could become a future thing that works. Gustavo says, hey, Tom, we have to believe Thursday the team can do the job. What do you think about Sabas? If he plays like he did today, 100% he has to play. But the level of opposition on Thursday is very different. Slavia, Prague are much, much better than Sheffield United. Can we get a good result against them remains to be seen. And it relies on confidence. It relies on us being as clinical as we was today. It relies on Lacazette taking the chances that he's going to get. I imagine he's going to start. I imagine we're probably going to go with the same front three, maybe even front four, as long as Saka's injury, if it even is an injury, is as bad as it is. We might have Smith Rowe back. We might have Ødegaard back. There's lots of decisions that need to be made. Sam says, would you play Marie over Gabriel? I mean, he had a very solid performance today. Did not look overawed by the situation of coming in. I feel like he was rotated more than actually coming in through deserving of that role. Would I play him over Gabriel? Gabriel's the better player. I have no doubt about that. So I feel like you should just play Gabriel. It's a tough one. What I would say there is that I think that's great news for us, is that we've got a problem. Isn't it nice to have a problem in a position for once, rather than, and a good problem at that, rather than going, oh my God, we better play Martinelli, rather than those two. It's now a case of either of those is a very capable player, and I don't mind which of them starts. I think Gabriel should, because I think he's the better player, but it's nice to have that issue. It's nice that we don't need to worry about that, and that's really, really positive. Azir says, who do you think is going to finish higher, Arsenal or Spurs? Well, I mean, the Premier League table right now, Arsenal are 4 points behind Tottenham with 8 games to go. Arsenal have fixtures against Chelsea and Everton left to play. But other than that, everyone else that we play is below us in the table with 7 games remaining. If Arsenal can get any amount of points against the teams that are above us and can win all of those other games against teams that are below us, that could be a really big turning point. In terms of Spurs' fixtures, we can have a look at those now and what Spurs have actually got left. But they've got to play Everton, which is obviously a pretty tough game for them. They've then got to play Southampton at home, which you'd expect them to win that. They've got to play an EFL Cup final against Manchester City, which, fingers crossed, all of our appendages crossed, that they lose that game. Sheffield United leads away. It's definitely not easy. Aston Villa, not easy. Wolves, if they play well, Wolves can beat anyone on their day. And Leicester away on the last game of the season, which could be huge for both teams. So they've not got an easy run in, it's fair to say. So there's all the chance that Arsenal can still finish above. We've got some nice fixtures now. We've got some decent games coming up in the league that we can start picking up points, get on a run. If we get through Thursday and we progress, fantastic. But it's going to be really, really difficult to do that. Tang Wang says, I think Marie is better than Gabriel in the meantime, but Gabriel has more room to improve. Fig says, you need a new keeper. Leno has such weak wrists. And why did he punch that ball in the box? I don't know. I'm questioning more and more Burnt Leno every single game. Mr. Joe Kerr says centre-back is a position where we have quality and depth. Arguably the only position where we have such choice. Marie Holding, Gabriel, even Chambers, fantastic problems to have. Alex says, apologies if I'm repeating something that's already been said, but Danny was class and silky. Alex, if you're repeating a positive, I have absolutely no problem with that at all. I agree with you 100%. I thought he was brilliant. Rodney says, Omar, exactly what I said to my friend. I just now, who was saying Holding had a masterclass, overrating regular performances. Holding's just a 6, 7 out of 10 player. He sometimes has amazing displays, like we saw in the FA Cup finals, but most of the time he just gives you a solid display. He's not amazing. He's a backup right centre-back. He is the Pablo Marie of right-sided centre-backs that's currently starting because our starting right centre-back in David Luiz is injured. It's a decent contract to give him because I think it gives us the depth. It gives us an okay player in that position, not a bad player at all by any standard, but a position that definitely will be upgraded upon. And maybe Saliba next season will be the player to do that. We'll have to wait and see. Forever an Arsenal fan says, do you think we sold the wrong goalkeeper? Again, we talk about this a lot. I think that we didn't really have a choice in who we sold. I would have rather have kept Martinez and him be our starter, but there was no one coming in for Leno. There was only people coming in for Martinez, and it was a decent, very, 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 at the time, contextually, a very, very good bid. So I understand why it happened, but I'd rather that we had Martinez in goal right now, 100%. 100%. Rahil says, hey, Tom, not sure if you've mentioned it already. Xhaka was brilliant at left back, whatever that hybrid position is. I know it was Sheffield United. Yeah, he will get harder tests. He'll get harder tests, arguably, if he plays there on Thursday, because I imagine that Sima or Oscar Dorley will be playing in that right-hand side position, and he will be tested a hell of a lot more than he was tested today. Would I play it if someone else is fit? I don't know. He played great today. Should we put him back in the midfield? I don't know. But he's an incredibly important player to the team. That is for sure. Alex says, chat with Martin and Emil about... he's asking the questions in the chat. Feel free to answer, guys. With Martinelli and Emil... is that Martin Odegaard, of course, and Emil Smith-Rowe down for Thursday. Would you continue with Bukayo Saka in the number 10 role and Gabby and Nico on the flanks? I think that I would stick with what we did in the forward line today. If Saka is fit, I'd play him at 10 if we don't have Smith-Rowe or Odegaard. If Saka is fit, then you've got a problem, which is great. So it's another good issue to have. But Saka, Pepe played really well today. I thought it was a big problem for them all game. He scored, of course, against Slavia Prague on Thursday. Keep playing him. He's in form. Don't bench him. Don't drop him. Just keep playing him because he's in good form right now. Keep up that strength. You drop him and he loses that momentum. 100% we need to keep playing him. Cook Dog says, I love El Neni. He is always happy to come on as a sub and serve the club. Yeah, it's a good quality to have in a player. If he's happy to, be here, be a sub, be a utility player, be a group stage European competition player when we need him, cup competition player when we need him, great. Does a job. That's all you need from those types of players. But we need to be improving the first team and arguably selling El Neni and bringing in someone else. So Xhaka becomes the El Neni. Whether people question if he's willing to do that or not, but I think it's something that you need to think about. Matt Thornton says, how do you think Alba does in that front five? Honestly, I don't know, Matt. I think that Aubameyang is a player that is going to be out for a little bit. I don't know what you guys think about the flu. If it is flu, who knows? I mean, it's a weird thing to lie about. Xhaka was ill a week ago, so it's completely feasible. The whole thing about there being no flu cases in the UK is quite funny. I don't buy that. I think that if there was an issue, there was an issue. It's difficult, and I don't want to speculate and it be really wrong. So I just wouldn't play him anyway because I don't think he gets into my starting 11 right now. Matt says, that goal meant so much for Martinelli. So happy for him. Tom, how would you set up for Prague? I'd go all out attack. We've got nothing to lose, so might as well go for it. I agree with you, Matt. I think we don't need to set up defensively at all because away goals are really key in the game. You score 2 goals and you win 2-1, you're through. Obviously, if you were to draw 2-2, you're through. We just need to make sure we score at least 2 goals, and that's what's really key. 1 goal is not enough. We need to score 2 goals. I can see us conceding. because we've looked defensively a little bit flawed of late. We just need to make sure we go out. I'd play Martinelli, gives us the energy. I think he would frighten that Slavia Prague backline. So I think it's really important that we continue with the way that things are going and use that same team if it's available, because I quite liked it. Chris P says, Holding and Chambers always work well together. Also, Marie and Holding have a great relationship. I'm okay with them as part of the back four, strengthening the left back and centre mid first. Chris, what I would say is that whilst I agree in the sense that I'm happy with their performances, if you look at the teams above us in the table, where would right back Chambers and centre backs of Marie and Holding, where would that rate in the teams that are above us? Because it wouldn't be very high. It really, really wouldn't. And that's the issue that we've got, is that a number of key positions in the team, comparatively, we're just not as good as the teams above us. And that's what we need to try and close that gap. And we only close that gap by investing, by spending smartly, and by improving those positions with upgrades. And that's what we need to be looking towards the summer. So I appreciate your point, Chris, and I think you're spot on. But in the context of looking what's above us, it's not close to those guys. So we need to improve upon them. Yannick says, Marie came from City. What are you on about, Tom? Oh, Yannick. Sam says, Martinelli or Emil Smith Rowe out wide with a fully fit squads. Oh, I really like Erdegaard and Smith Rowe playing together. Maybe that means you can play Martinelli up front. But Lacazette is now playing himself into some form. He's missed some chances on Thursday. He took his chances today. It's a tough one. But I think you have to play the guys that are in form. So Martinelli scored, keep him going. Lacazette scored, keep him going. Easy peasy. Rodney says, the thought of another season of Holding and Chambers in the starting 11 is so depressing. Alex says, Chamber has been class every time he's been deployed at fullback. He's a top don. AB says, read what Arteta said about Martinelli. I mean, what has he said about Martinelli? Has he already talked about Martinelli? I mean, we can have a look at good old Chris Wheatley and see if Chris has tweeted anything out about what he said about Martinelli. He has. He says, I'm asking you to be patient because we have a lot of 19 and 20-year-old players. It's not common, and Gabby is on the right path. With the right development, he's got an incredible attitude and talent. Arteta on Xhaka. I mean, I might as well share this with you. I'm assuming that they're posting this in the live blog. They are indeed. So let's get this up on the screen so you guys can see it. Here we go. Share. We're on Football London. Let's have a look. Okay, so Arteta on Xhaka. He had a specific role today for the game, and he had the right qualities to develop that role. It's a joy to work with him. You ask him to play as a centre forward, and his reaction is, yeah, I'll do my best. So there you go. We've talked about what he said about Martinelli. On Saka, I don't know the extent, but for Thursday, David and Kieran will be out. Emil and Martin, we don't know yet. Let's see how Bukayo develops in the next few days. Asked on if Arsene Wenger would have enjoyed Lacaz's goal. Hopefully. Why would they ask that? That's weird. Hopefully, it was a typical Arsenal goal. I suppose that's why, yeah, with the little bits of interplay and the classic Arsene Wenger ball. It was really high quality, and the movement from Lacazette was really good as well. Yeah, as we said, it's a typical Arsenal goal, and the fact that we've still got that and the potential within us to kind of do that and to have goals like that is really important. So, yeah, 100%. 100%. On the performance, he says, I'm really happy with the performance. We scored some really nice goals and controlled the game the way we wanted. We played at a high level, I think. Martinelli had an ankle knock. He was pretty sore, but he's a tough guy, he says. And more on Saka's injury. He said he had some discomfort in his thigh. I don't know what it is. I hope no. But the last thing we need is another attacking midfielder with another issue. Yeah, that's the biggest issue today is worrying about fitness of players. And that's what we need to avoid as much as possible, is avoid these injuries that keep reoccurring. And it's really important that we don't have those happening. Thank you, Joe, for the donation. Tom, let's not measure ourselves now against the other top 7. We have fallen behind over those seasons. Let's focus on building stability and worry later. Joe, I personally disagree, because I think that we should be looking at those top 6, 7 teams and saying, if we're signing a player and they don't get into those other teams, I don't think we should sign them. We should look at, unless it's for a backup option, but for a starting player in Arsenal's team, I think you look at the teams that are above us. And if we sign a player, does he get into those teams? Yes. Okay, let's sign him. No, he's not going to progress us above them. let's not sign him. I think that's really, really important. Kieran says, I think tonight's game shows how important Xhaka is for Arsenal. Very versatile and covered the left-back position perfectly. Yannick says, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Pepe needs to hit the gym in the off-season. What I would say, Yannick, is actually he rode the tackle exceptionally well, which led to Martinelli's goal, and he held the player off really well too. But I do agree there's nothing wrong with adding a little bit more physicality to your game. Ecal says, I liked how we played. I missed that. BP down currently. Why do we decide to play now? Oh, my club. Victory on Thursday. Yeah, they just make you think too hard sometimes. It hurts thinking about Arsenal quite often. Matt G says, it's weird they ask Arteta about Wenger. It's like asking him if he still talks about his ex-girlfriend. Yeah, it does. Drizzy says, really wishes he's got a few minutes. Yeah, I agree with you, Drizzy. I don't really know why Nketiah was brought on. Give Aziz a chance. Like, he's on the bench. When was he ever going to be used? If he wasn't going to be used at 3-0 up, when were you going to use him? I don't know. I really get what you're saying there, and I 100% would question why would you not play him? Chris P says, but they're not all starters, Tom. Sorry, but I have 150 characters to make my points, unless you want yet another bottle of bubbly. Left back and centre mid first. Chris, you can just comment without donating. I'm not forcing you to do it. I really appreciate it. But, I appreciate it. But, yeah, they're not all starters. But we need to make sure we sign in the summer, I think is the point we're getting to, is we need to sign starters. That's what we need to do. Karthik says, are you confident for Thursday, Tom? Karthik, I'm always the optimist. Based on that performance, based on what we've seen, I thought we dominated Slavia. I thought we created enough chances to win that game by a canter, and we took the chances we created today. If we can take the chances that we create, yes, I'm confident. But it all depends on the lineup. It all depends on who plays. It all depends who's fit and who turns up, and if we take the chances. And how Slavia play too is also going to be a factor. But I'm confident because I'm always the optimist and always hoping that we can get the best result possible. Think says, Arteta has got to go. I cannot believe that he went out there on the pitch and kicked Salah's thigh to give him a dead leg. Unredeemable. Dominic Harry says, good performance. Now let's hope they do that on Thursday. We need something like that again. Drizzy says, would you promote Balogun after the signature or loan him out? I think it depends what happens in the summer with our other strikers, Drizzy. If we lose Lacazette, lose Nketiah, keep him in the squad. If we've got a lot of strikers, yeah, give him a loan, send him out, get him playing first-team football at a Premier League club for the whole season. That's what we should be looking to do. Daniel Roberts says, so gutted for Tierney. He's going to be out for the season. It could even be out for the Euros. Really, really bad news for Tierney. I wasn't really expecting him to come back, to be honest, based on the amount of time we were told about him. But he's going to be out, which sucks. But it goes to show that we need to make sure that we sign a very good left-back as cover for him. I still look at, we need to be a bit savvy in those positions of not spending, if anything, on the backups and focusing money on our starters in elsewhere. Ryan Bertrand, I think, would be an absolutely fine addition to the team as a free transfer. Just sort it out. Just do a deal like that. Even a Patrick Van Aanholt, I know a lot of people don't rate him, but it's important that we spend money on the key areas of the team and improve the lineup and not waste too much money on backup positions, but still aim to bring in ample cover when necessary. Just a natural left back is already better than we've currently got because we don't have one other than the youth players. That's what's going to be important. Teng Wang says, I'm open to give Xhaka captaincy again. He's more than proved himself with his good performances. Personally, I give it to one of our defenders, though, at the back. I think Tierney is the obvious choice. I think you've got other players in the team like Gabriel, maybe one day could be a captain. I think you've got other players in the team that could also, Partey, for instance, could be a captain. I think there's lots of players that could be captains in the team. I personally put more stock in having multiple leaders and the characteristics of a leader in my team over than giving someone the armband. Mr. Joe Kerr says, should we really worry about 4 of stars that we're pinning our futures on are on the physio table so often? Gabby, Partey, KT, Emil Smith-Rowe. Yeah, 100%. It's worrying. That's why we need to make sure that we try and sign players without that problem. And it is a problem. Chris says, screw you, dude. It's my money. God damn it. That's fair enough, Chris. I'm not going to complain. As I say, the stuff that's coming this week, the stuff that you might even see tomorrow, maybe Tuesday. Let's talk Arsenal on Tuesday, 5 p.m. at UK time. The stuff that's coming, the donations, the membership, the subscriptions, all of that has helped make what this channel is going to look like next week. It's going to be great. I really can't wait to show you. Slavia says, we saw the obvious Martinelli over Willian choice. I agree with you. Don says, Laka could be short-term captain if we need him. And Ben Albert, wow, I don't think I'd go that far, Don. I don't think I'd go that far. I wouldn't be picking him personally as a captain. If he's got those characteristics, I'd great. But no, not for me. Jermaine Chambers says, I'm glad we won today, but the really big dinner we have to polish off, and I mean polish it off, is on Thursday. Yeah, we do. We have to win it, mate. We have to win Thursday. Absolutely, 100%. No doubt. Go out there, smash them, beat them. Nah, just honestly, I can't do it. If we don't come through Thursday, it's gonna. The season's done. Like, if we think, I know that I've been saying that we need to focus on the league, but to get up for the league games with no hope of Europa League, like to get to that would be such a killer. It's going to be a real tough game that I'm not looking forward to particularly. I'm not looking forward to Thursday. I don't know what it is about it. I just want it over and done with and hope we get through it. We've really put ourselves in a really difficult place now. Sam says, Chris P, cut it out. You're making the rest of us look bad. Smash a like. Thanks, Sam. Really appreciate your support as always. Ika says, Tom, your optimism is great. Keep the balance. I try, mate. I really do. I mean, I was going to say attacks. I was under a lot of pressure on the watch along today. I'd really appreciate it, TGT gang, if you could drop into a couple of the streams and just try and balance it out. just help a little bit, because I get called a fraud a lot. I get called a left, right, and centre. I could take it. I've got thick skin, but a little bit of backup never hurt anyone. But I'll be sticking to my guns, sticking to my views, sticking to what I feel, how I feel. Don't plan on bending to the pressure at all. And I appreciate the support as always on the show. If you've enjoyed the show today, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Tune in tomorrow. Tune in this week. Can't wait to show you what the channel's going to look like, how it's going to change, that you won't have to see a house behind me, and instead you can start focusing on seeing a really highly put together production instead, which is all thanks to the members and everyone else that helps support the channel every single day. I appreciate every single one of you. Chris P, again, as long as you're not doing that nonsense super chat dictating tier list that Terry does. Criminal. What does Terry do? I just read them all out. Just read your comments. If you donate, I read your comment. If you don't donate, I try and read as many of your comments as possible. This is what we've grown here. We've absolutely grown a community here where all of your views are heard, whether you agree with me, whether you don't agree with me. We read out your comments because we want to hear what your thoughts are. We want to get differing views. We want to create discussion, and that's what's the most important thing. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'll see you on Thursday for the show, but absolute pleasure to speak to you as always. And as always, up the arse.